The topic of discussion that we are going to deal right now is we are going to talk about counter current mechanism, and we'll be talking in detail, and this is under the topic of our concentration of urine. And the workflow that we'll be going through is we'll be discussing about all these things, right? We'll be discussing in detail about this counter current multiplier, we'll be discussing about role of urea, counter current exchange, and osmolarity of different region of nephron. Now without delay, let's move directly into our topic. So here, okay, now talking about the concentration of urine, right? Concentration of urine, right, it is dependent upon two main things. One is, okay, how is the concentration of urine maintained? The concentration of urine is maintained because of what? Because of high level of ADH. Now what is this ADH? It is antidiuretic hormone, right? Antidiuretic hormone, that means it is not allowing diuresis, it is not allowing the excessive flow of water. If there will not be excessive flow of water, obviously what will happen? There will be what? There will be concentrated urine. And similarly, another thing that we'll be dealing with is we'll be talking about what? In order to maintain the concentration of urine, the thing that we'll do is we need to maintain the hyperosmotic renal medulla. That means within renal medulla there should be hyperosmotic. The concentration should be so much high in the case of our renal medulla. Okay, now why these things are necessary for concentration of urine, we'll study in detail. Now here, okay, let's just go through our flow chart right now. Okay, talking about hyperosmotic renal medulla. Okay, in this hyperosmotic renal medulla, why it is important? It is important for counter current mechanism, and this counter current mechanism, right, consist of what? Different things, such as our counter current multiplier. There is the role of urea, there is our counter current exchanger. Now this counter current multiplier, it takes place in the case of loop of Henle, that consists of descending loop of Henle, thin ascending loop of Henle, thick ascending loop of Henle. Similarly, where there is the role of urea, the role of urea is in inner medullary collecting duct. Just we'll be studying this thing in detail, don't worry. Similarly, another thing is that the counter current exchanger, right? There is multiplier and there is exchanger, and these takes place in our vasa recta. So yes, we talked about what concentration of urine. For the concentration of urine, there should be the high ADH level, there should be hyperosmotic renal medulla, and high ADH level, where this ADH level is maintained, or where it takes place in our DCT or collecting duct. Similar, talking about hyperosmotic renal medulla, how we are going to maintain, how we are going to maintain it, we'll just look at later on. But okay, now this hyperosmotic renal medulla, what it will do is it will help in counter current. Okay, how it is maintained? It is maintained with the help of counter current mechanism, and counter current mechanism consists of these things. Okay, now before getting directly into our topic in detail about our topic, let us know some fact. The plasma concentration is about 300 milliosmol per liter. 300 milliosmol per liter. That means it is the concentration that is present in our blood, right? In our blood. Now, and when we look, or when we just measure the concentration of urine, at that time we'll find that there is concentration of 1200 milliosmol per liter. Okay. Now that means what is going on here is that here in plasma only there is 300 milliosmoles per liter, our osmolarity. But here in the case of urine, how much is there? There is 1200. That means we have preserved a lot amount of water. We have preserved a lot amount of water, because of which the concentration of urine is increased so much. That means we can say it is increased 4 times, right? 3 times 4, right? 300 into 4, that is 1200. It is, that means we have reabsorbed a lot of amount of water back into our circulation. That is why so the concentration of urine is so high. Okay, now it is even more in the case of in the case of desert animal, in which they are deprived of water. That means they need to conserve a lot of amount of water, they need to reabsorb a lot of amount of water, and their urine is so much hyperosmotic in comparison to human. Okay, that is one important thing. Now talking about ADH, right? Okay, now how ADH play role in concentration of urine. ADH is detailed topic of endocrine, but here we'll be having a brief discussion about ADH. So ADH, here what is going on is ADH ADH plays role in in concentrating urine in later DCT and cortical collecting duct. what I'm saying is later DCT, right? Okay, if you remember, what cortex is the outer region and medulla is our inner region, right? And here what you'll see is okay, let us suppose what is this, what is going on here. This is okay, this is our descending loop of Henle, this is our ascending loop of Henle, and then we have got DCT, right? And later DCT means right here. And collecting duct also, it consists of what? The upper one region, it is the cortical region, and the below one region is our medulla region. But here I'm saying that the areas plays role in the case of later DCT, right? Later DCT, that means this region, and the cortical collecting duct, right, means this in this region, right? In inner medullary duct, it causes urea diffusion through urea transporter, right? We are not talking about the inner medullary part right here, because here in the case of inner medullary part, here what it does is it causes urea diffusion through urea transporter. Okay, we'll be talking in detail about that thing later on, right? And yes, here in medulla, we are not saying that in medullary region the areas will it will just cause, it will help in reabsorbing water. It will not be doing here, because here already there is hyperosmolarity that we'll be discussing after this topic. Okay, now here talking about now what factor causing hyperosmolarity, osmotic renal medulla. That means hyperosmotic renal medulla. Okay, let me just draw one diagram, and the diagram is like this, right? This is our cortex, this is our medulla, right? And here in cortex, what we got glomerulus, right? We got glomerulus, and after glomerulus we got PCT, we got loop of Henle, right? Loop of Henle, and we got in that loop of Henle we are getting what? Ascending, right? Thick ascending loop of Henle, as you can see right here. And then we got DCT, right? This is our DCT, this is our this is our collecting duct, right? Okay, now what we are saying is that we are trying to maintain hyperosmotic environment in the case of medulla, right? This is our cortex region, right? And this is our medulla region. Okay, now here what we are saying is that we need to maintain hyperosmotic in this region. Now how we are going to maintain hyperosmotic region in this region, and by maintaining hyperosmotic environment in this our medulla region, how it will help in concentration of urine. So now for that thing, okay, let us move right here. Okay, now before getting into that thing, the thing that we need to know is we need to know about the characteristics of loop of Henle. Yes, loop of Henle, as we have already said that this whole region is our loop of Henle, right? This whole region is our loop of Henle, right? It is consisting of descending limb, as you can see right here. This is our descending limb, and this is consisting of thin ascending limb and thick ascending limb. The thin ascending limb is not so important, so we'll be considering about thick ascending limb only. Okay, talking about what descending limb, right? Descending limb, the most important feature of this descending limb is it is permeable to water. That means water can easily flow out of this region from this descending limb, and it is impermeable to solute, right? It is impermeable to solute. That means solid can't enter or can't get out of our descending loop of Henle. Because of its permeability towards water, what will happen here is this our descending loop of Henle, it will try to maintain osmotic equilibrium with our interstitium. Okay, that is one important feature. Now talking about thick ascending loop of Henle, it is permeable to it is permeable to solute. That means it is permeable to solute, or we can say that it consists of it consists of transporter, and the transporter are these are NKCC transporter, what? Sodium, potassium, chloride, right? 1 sodium, 1 potassium, and 2 chloride. It is ionic equilibrium condition. Now this is our transporter, right? Now it will do is it will just carry our ions, right, our solute into this medullary space, so that we can say that these our thick ascending loop of Henle, it is impermeable to water. That means water can't exchange through our this thick ascending loop, but there is exchange of solute. That means solute can move out, right? Solute can move out. So this is one important characteristic of thick ascending loop of Henle. Okay, we talked about descending limb and we talked about thick ascending limb. Descending limb, right, it is impermeable to water and it is impermeable to solid, so important feature. And talking about thick ascending limb, it is impermeable to water, but there is active transport of solute. Okay, now after knowing about some concept about our loop of Henle, now let's move toward how we are going to maintain hyperosmotic renal medulla. It means factor causing hyperosmotic renal medulla. Okay, the first thing is there is active transport of solute, and here we are talking about our this. What is this? This is our thick ascending loop of Henle. Thick ascending. Okay, let's make thick right here. What is this? This is our thick ascending loop of Henle. Okay, this is our thick ascending loop of Henle. Now what is going on here is, here there is active transport of solute, right? Solute are being actively transported, right? Solute are being actively transported, but there is no there is no permeability of water. That means solute are only being transported. Now here what will happen is, okay, okay, let's move to what in detail about how now in detail we are going to maintain the hyperosmotic environment in renal medulla. Now here, okay, now here now in order to maintain hyperosmotic renal medulla, we said that there are various other things right under it, and they are countercurrent multiplier, role of urea, and countercurrent exchanger. Now how these things are contributing in making hyperosmotic renal medulla. Now here the counter current mechanism, simply the word counter, what does counter means? In opposite direction. That means here what is this? This is our what? This is our ascending loop of Henle. And what is this? This is our this is our descending loop of Henle, and this is our ascending loop of Henle. Now here as you can see, what is this? This is moving in this direction, right? In this direction. That means here counter current mechanism. That means counter current. Counter means it is moving in this direction, and here it is moving in this direction, right? It is forming U-shaped structure. Okay, counter in opposite direction. And current means what? Simply flow. Current, what is current? Electric current is the flow of electron. Simply here current means flow. That means here it is flowing, right? The water is being flown. Okay, now here mechanism. Okay, now under this counter current mechanism we also talked about different other thing, and the first thing is counter current multiplier mechanism, right? Now counter, yes, we know about counter current, we know, and multiplier. Here multiplier means that the concentration will be gradually increasing, right? The concentration or osmolarity will be gradually increasing. So here let us see, right? What is this? This is our 300 milliosmol per liter. It is the plasma concentration, right? Now okay, now here the thing that we are mentioning is this is our what? Descending loop of Henle. And what is this? This is our ascending loop of Henle, right? This is our ascending loop of Henle. So here initially what is going on here is, and this is what? This is our medullary what? Space interstitium, right? Medullary interstitium. Right now this everything here, our this descending loop of Henle, our interstitium, and our this what? Ascending loop of Henle, these are in what? Equilibrium, or there is same osmolarity everywhere. But yes, it is so because what is going on is our renal blood flow, right? It will carry what? Renal blood flow will carry blood, and it will just through filtration, right? Through glomerular filtration, right? There will be what? There will be presence of in PCT. What is okay? There is what? There is our glomerular filtration Bowman capsules, right? And here we have got PCT, right? And we know that in PCT there is equal amount of what? Solute and water reabsorption, right? And water and solute, right? Sodium, they are reabsorbed in equal amount, because of which there will be what? These PCT will be isotonic in nature. So here you can see the 300 milliosmol per liter, and that is isotonic to plasma. So here now initially this 300 which was coming out of PCT is flowing toward what? It is flowing in our descending loop of Henle, and the same osmolarity is being maintained in ascending loop of Henle, because here nothing is going on, it is isotonic. But what will happen here is, as we have said, that our this thick ascending loop of Henle is what? It is permeable to solute, or we can say that there is active transport of what? Solute. As you can see, as there is active transport of solute, right? Sodium and chloride. As you can see, there is active transport of solute. As there will be transport of solute from our this thick ascending loop into interstitium, medullary interstitium, then obviously the concentration of our this thick ascending loop of Henle will be decreased, because solute are being carried into interstitium of medulla, right? So as there will be solute concentration here increased, what will happen? The osmolarity in our interstitium is increased. So from 300 it has increased to 400, and here from 300 it has reduced to 200. And one important thing that we need to know right here is there is always the osmotic gradient of 200 milliosmol per liter between what? Between our this thick ascending loop of Henle and our interstitium, right? Medullary interstitium. So you can see what is here. That means we can say that there is ratio of 2:1, right? 2 in medullary and 1 in our what? thick ascending loop of Henle. Because of what? Because of active transport of solute. So you can see 200 and here you can see 400. Okay, as I have said that here our this descending loop of Henle is permeable to water. That means here it is 400 and here it is 300. That means what will happen is that this 300, I mean the fluid that is present here in descending loop of Henle, it will try to acquire osmotic equilibrium with our this medullary interstitium. That means it will what it will do is, now this 300, right, now this 300, it will cause osmosis of water, right, as it will cause the osmosis of water, because osmosis of water obviously it will go from lower solute concentration to higher solute concentration, right, as to maintain it. So here now there will be water diffusing into interstitium. As there will be water diffusing into interstitium, obviously what will happen, this 300 now will increase. Why it will increase? Because the water is removed from this region, right, the concentration of solute is increased right here. So here the concentration of solute is increased, so it will be in equilibrium with our interstitium, that is 400, as you can see right here, right, it will be in equilibrium with our our interstitial medullary concentration. So now as you can see, okay, this is about the fluid that was earlierly present in our descending loop of Henle, right, that is acquiring equilibrium with our with our interstitium medullary concentration. Now what will happen is that new fluid or new filtrate will enter into PCT, and that will go right here. As you can see, this is new, that is obviously 300 milliosmol per liter. Now as you can see here, the below one, they are having equilibrium with our medullary interstitium. Now these which were having equilibrium with our medullary interstitium, they will just flow. Now by flowing, what they will do is they will reach into thick ascending loop of Henle, right, as you can see. But here you can see this 200, these are older one, but this 400, these are the one that has flown right now into thick ascending loop of Henle. That's all. Now here you can see, now here again you can see there is isotonic condition right here. But as we have already said that there will be active transport of our solute. Now again there will be active transport of solute. The 400 one, they will reduce and they will become 300, and because of movement of solute into our medullary space, the 400 one now will become 500. So now what is going on? Again you can see there is difference of 200. That means the osmotic gradient is still maintained. Okay, now similarly the same thing will go on right here. As you can see, 300 and 500. Okay, now here, now above you can see that how many was there initially? There was how much there was, as you can see right here, there was 200, but now this will reduce to 150, and the one that was there was 400, it will become 350, right? Okay, now as you can see, there is 1:2 ratio right here, you can see. Okay, now this is our older fluid, right? Now again there is new fluid that is entering, right, but here as I have said that what is going on here is that 350, 500, you can see the osmotic, and here obviously there will be 150, right? Okay, 150, 350, right, 500, that means here there is multiplication. That means it is gradually increasing, osmolarity is gradually increasing, and you can see that the osmolarity of our medullary space is being increased, it is being multiplied. So now we are in the process of gaining hyperosmotic medullary interstitium. Okay, now as we know that this 350, 500, they will have equilibrium with our this descending loop of Henle. Now what will happen? There will be diffusion of water, osmosis of water in this region. As there will be osmosis of water, they will gain equilibrium. As you can see here, it was 300, now it is 350 because of flowing of water in this interstitium. So here you can see how many was there was 400, but here because of transfer of solute into interstitium, there will be 500. So here there will be equilibrium. Now this step will be repeated 4 to 6 times, right? As there will be repetition, what you will find that there will be in interstitium, medullary interstitium, you will find hyperosmolarity. As you will see, there will be our vertical what increase in osmolarity. As you can see, the maximum that will reach in this turning region is our 1200 milliosmol per liter. So as you can see here, this descending loop of Henle, it is in equilibrium with our medullary interstitium. As you can see, 300, 700, 700. But as I mentioned earlier, our this thick ascending loop of Henle, there it will have osmotic gradient with our this medullary interstitium of 200 milliosmol. That we can see 300 and 100, there is difference of 200 milliosmol, 700, 500, 1000 and 800, 1200 and 1000. So this is what this is, how we are acquiring our what hyperosmolarity in the region of our medullary interstitium. So now here, as you can see, because of this hyperosmolarity, you can see the concentration of urine has it has increased from 300 to 1200. So this is how the hyperosmolarity or osmolarity of medullary interstitium helps in concentration of urine. So this was about counter current multiplier mechanism. So I hope it is clear to you right now. Yes, as we are talking about counter current multiplier mechanism, right now let us move toward another thing that helps. Okay, it was counter current multiplier, right? Multiplier. Now let us move the role of urea. Okay, as I have said that okay, now before getting into role of urea, let us move toward the counter current exchange. Now just before we talked about counter current multiplier, right? But here we are talking about counter current exchange. Here counter current multiplier, what it is doing is it is producing our concentration gradient, right? Osmolarity. It is producing hyperosmotic urine, right? But here in the case of counter current exchange, it will not produce hyperosmotic urine, or it will not produce the concentrated urine, but it will maintain the concentrated urine. That means it will not allow our urine to be diluted again. Now how it will do is that, now here counter current exchange, to understand counter current exchange, the one that will play role here in counter current exchange is, as you have already mentioned, the counter current multiplier. The thing that was taking place in counter current multiplier was our loop of Henle, but here in counter current exchange, Basa recta will take place. Now what is this Basa recta? As you know that what is this is our loop of Henle. As you can see, descending and ascending loop of Henle. Now this Basa recta is the one that will move opposite to the flow of our this loop of Henle. That means here, if here there is the movement in this direction, then in Basa recta there will be movement in this direction, and here there is the movement in this direction. But here, as you can see, there is movement of blood in this direction. So Basa recta, right? Basa recta is surrounding our loop of Henle, as you can see. Now here, now what will happen is that Basa recta, what will happen here is that, as I have said that it will this Basa recta will move in a direction opposite to our loop of Henle. Now what is going on here is, as this is our ascending limb of Basa recta, and this is descending limb of Basa recta, right? It is carrying blood. Now here, since it is carrying blood, the osmolarity is 300 milliosmol per liter. So what is going on here is, as it is present in the region of medullary interstitium, right? It is obviously present in the region of medullary interstitium, and we have said that medullary interstitium, it is already hyperosmolar, right? It is already hyperosmolar. So what will happen is that, since our medullary interstitium consists of large amount of solute, right? But here inside our this Basa recta there is less amount of solute, so the solute will tend to move from our this medullary interstitium into Basa recta, right? Medullary interstitium into our Basa recta. So not only solute will move into Basa recta, but also to maintain the osmotic equilibrium, what will happen is that the water will also move out of our Basa recta into interstitium. So now as it will gradually move into ascending limb of our this Basa recta, what will happen is that it will acquire concentration gradient enough, right? And that will be more than of our as you can see here, it is already acquiring 1200 milliosmoles per liter osmolarity, right? Now what will happen is that, now Now since there will be large amount of solute in this region, here in region of our what, in region of our this vasa recta, now what will it will do is it will just what it will just throw solute out of it, right? And it will also what it will do is it will acquire what, it will acquire water within it to maintain osmotic gradient. As you can see, the 600, 800, 1000 and 1200, it is going on in same ratio. So here, and there will be what, there will be again returning of solute into what, interstitium, right? Interstitium of medulla, and there is what, there is carrying of water, and this carrying of water is also the water that was being what, that was being moving out of our what, descending loop of Henle, that could have caused what, defect in hyperosmolarity of our medulla. So here as you can see, solute was being taken by it, water was being thrown by it, and it will carry same water and also the water from descending limb of Henle, and it will just take it away, and it will again return solute into the medullary interstitium. So here you can see, there initially there was 300 milliosmol per liter, but later on there is 350 milliosmol per liter. That means it is not carrying a large amount of solute, it is trying to maintain the hyperosmotic environment of renal medulla. So as we have mentioned earlier, that loop of Henle are producing what, hyperosmotic renal medulla, but these our what, this vasa recta, this is not producing, but it is maintaining what, it is maintaining the hyperosmolarity of renal medulla. So this was about what, this is about counter current exchange, right? The water from DCT that came out should be taken out so that medullary osmolarity should not be disturbed, as we have already said. Also the water from DCT and water is taken by that vasa recta, right? Now yes, another thing is the role of urea. The urea is what, urea is the one that is filtered, and it is carried all the way into what, into the medullary collecting duct, and from this, in this medullary collecting duct, right, what will happen is that there are urea transporter, right, that will carry this urea back this will carry this urea back into what, into our interstitium, right? And these are not what, these are not as we know that ADS, what these ADS will do is ADS will carry water out from this our collecting duct, and because of carrying water out from this collecting duct, there will be the increasing in concentration of urea right in this region, and these urea which are highly concentrated right in this collecting duct, and now this will what, this will be carried away again into interstitium. So this was about what, the role of urea also. Now moving into the osmolarity in comparison to plasma, right? In PCT, as we have said, that there will be equal reabsorption of solute and water, so the PCT is isoosmotic. But in the case of descending loop of Henle, as we have said, that it is permeable to what, it is permeable to our it is permeable to water. So as water will flow out of the interstitium, flow out of as the water will flow out of our descending loop of Henle, there will be the increase in concentration of solute, and that is what hyperosmotic will be there. And in ascending loop of Henle, as we have said, that there is no permeability of water, but there will be active transport of solute. Since the solute are taken out from this ascending loop of Henle, there will be hypoosmotic, less osmotic, right? And collecting duct, right, if there will be absence of ADH, then obviously this hypoosmotic will be more hypoosmotic, right? This will be more hypoosmotic in absence of ADH, because ADH is causing what it is causing, it is inhibiting diuresis, right? It is by absorbing water, but here the water is not absorbed, so water will remain right there, and there will be increase in hypoosmolarity. So this was about what, this was about our counter current mechanism and concentration of urine. Hope you got the topic.